In this video, I'm going to start modeling the hammer head, and I'm going to start with this section here. There are 8 facets that go around this section. So I'm going to start with a polygon cylinder. So I'm going to click on the Create Polygon Cylinder icon, and that will create a cylinder at the origin, which I'm going to move up. And I'm going to go into the channel box, and I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees in the z-axis. And since this has 8 facets, what I'm going to do is go into inputs, click on poly cylinder, and I'm going to change the subdivision axis to 16. So 16 is 8 times 2, divided by 2. So I'm going to move this into place and scale it to basically the correct width there. And then I'm going to make it so that I can kind of flatten out these facets. So actually, before I do that, I am going to add in an additional edge loop. And I'm going to move these over closer like that. All right. And I don't actually need the inside faces, so I am going to go into my front view, select all of those inside faces, and hit delete. When I get to the front of the hammer, we'll finish it off similarly to the way we did on the base of the grip. So now I am going to come in, choose edges, and select every other edge. And I am going to scale those in uniformly to flatten out the overall shape, like that. Now what that did was create a bit of misaligned vertices here. So I'm going to go into vertex mode, select all of the vertices along this line in the front view, hit W to get into the move tool, hold down X for grid snapping, and snap those all together. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Snap those together. So I now have this section that basically has the more flattened out segments. Then I'm actually going to go into object mode, and I'm going to scale this up a little bit more, like that. And I am going to select all of those edges, scale them up. Gonna add in an edge loop there. And then scale that up. Start creating the curve. With this, I'm going to have to scale and move to start creating that overall shape. Good, multi-cut and control. Now with these, what I want to do is, you can see that I've got these indents along here. So I'm going to move these vertices over like that. And then I am going to, again, select every other vertex. Like that. And move these out to get that basic ridge shape. So something like that. Then I'll select those, and this time I'm going to extrude these edges out. So I'm going to have the edges selected, hit extrude, and I want to extrude so that they extrude straight on world mode. So I'm going to click on this little symbol here, and that way when I extrude out, I can extrude it straight. Then I'm going to hit W to get into Move Tool, hold down X to get into grid snapping, and snap those all so that they are aligned. If when you grid snap, the vertices or edges don't all align, let me undo that to show you what I'm talking about. So if you double click on the Move tool, you'll see in here that there's this Move Snap setting. By default, this Retain Component Spacing is on. When I do that, and I come in here and hold down X and snap it to the grid, it snapped it to the grid, but all of the components that were selected kept their relative distance to each other, and that wasn't what I actually want. So if you double click on the Move tool, come into Move Snap Settings, turn off Retain Component Spacing, then hold down the X with the Move tool, it will snap and align all of those components. So that's generally what you want. So I will then do that, and if you notice, this actually has a bit of a tilt, or needs to have a tilt to it, so I'm going to select all of those, hit E to get into the rotate tool, and just select this yellow axis and rotate that a little bit, and then move it down a little bit. Just to scale up just a little. So something like that. All right, so we now have that shape, and for closing off the front here, again, we can select the two edges that are opposite each other, click Bridge, and give it one division, and then do that Actually, I didn't need that division. I don't need a division there. So 0 divisions. And again, with this, you can just hit, once you select the edges across from each other, you can just hit G because you had already used the bridge tool. And that is now closed off. Now we want to create that bit of a ridge there, so double click on these edges, select them all, and do bevel, and that is about the right fixed thickness, but I wanted to give it an extra segment to round it off some, and we now have the start of that overall shape. In the next video, I'll start talking about making the shape for the rest of the head.